Please tell us about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies?
Hello, my name is Abednego Oponwobriabwa. I am a Ghanaian by birth, a married man with children, and I'm a proud science teacher. Currently, I hold master's degree in disability rehabilitation and development and a bachelor's degree in education where I specialize in science. I also hold a diploma in basic education. I am someone who enjoys learning and creativity. So for me, anything about learning or creativity, I'm all for it. By so doing, I've been able to create a TikTok account for my school known as Creativity School, where I guide students in showcasing their giving talents to the world. I'm also someone who have a strong interest in scientific explorations, and for that matter, I often watch science-related programs to deepen my understanding on how things work. I also love listening to news around the globe to get me abreast with information around the world. In my free time, I love writing books because they help me express my ideas and explore on new perspectives. Thankfully, I've been able to write and publish 3 books and still want to write more. I also love playing the musical instrument because it helps me relax and be more creative. Typically, the lead guitar. In my school, I've been able to establish a club known as the Lead Guitar Club, where I train students in playing it on every Fridays. To stay active, I engage myself in sporting activities such as the table tennis, the volleyball, and the football. It helped me maintain balance, build teamwork, and discipline. What motivated you to become a teacher for the subject for which you are applying? I chose science because it's always the subject that sparkles my curiosity. In fact, growing up, I used to experiment, ask questions, and even figure out how things happen the way they do. So over time, I realized I also enjoyed explaining those ideas to others. Teaching science helped me to share those curiosities with students and also help them discover the excitement behind the everyday's phenomenon. In fact, what motivates me most is seeing students light up when something finally makes sense to them. In fact, those moments remind me why I chose the path to become a science teacher. Tell us about your involvement in extracurricular activities that you could coach or supervise. Of course, I am actively involved in extracurricular activities because I believe it helps students develop confidence, teamwork, and important life skills. I can supervise and support in four-folded teams or clubs. That is, the science-related teams or clubs, the musical team or club, the sporting team or club, and then the school general team or class. With the science related team, I can support in the science club and any club related to science. I can also support, as I said, in the sporting teams such as the table tennis team. I can also support in the athletics team. I can supervise the football team, the volleyball team. With the musical team, I can supervise the piano team. I can also support the lead guitar team, and even with the trumpet team, I can support it. For the school junior team, I can support the quiz club or team, and also the spelling team as well. So for me, I enjoy working with students outside the classroom because it strengthens their character and build positive relationship in the school community. What subject have you taught and at what age levels? Okay, thank you. For me, I have taught science throughout my teaching career. In most of my teaching career, I have taught science. Typically in the basic school, that is from the upper primary to the junior high school. I've also taught mathematics also in the junior high school. I've also taught information communication and technology, known as ICT, also in the junior high school. Students' age ranges between 9 and 15. How do you prepare to teach your lessons? And what do your lesson plans include? Okay, thank you for this question. When I'm preparing to teach a lesson, I start by reviewing the curriculum and identify the key learning objectives for the topic. I then select the teaching strategies, the resources, and then the activities that will help students understand this concept clearly. So I then prepare the materials that I will need in advance. Talk of pictures, videos, diagrams, scientific equipment, and etc. And I then think through on how to differentiate the lesson for students with different learning needs. My lesson plan usually includes the learning objectives. It also includes introduction or starter activity to capture attention. It also includes the main teaching steps. It also includes students' activities and then the differentiation strategies to use. It also involves the assessment method and then the resources or the materials to use. Again, it also includes the timing for each part of the lesson. And finally, it includes the activities, the closing activities to check understanding of students and reinforce on key points. Talk about 2 teaching strategies or methods that you effectively use in your classroom. I mostly use the cooperative learning and then the differentiated instruction in my lesson delivery. So with the cooperative learning, I ask students to work in pairs or in small groups to either solve a problem, discuss an idea, or even complete a practical task. This strategy encourages active participation, build communication skills, and also help students to learn from one another. I also use differentiated instructions to meet the diverse learning needs in my classroom. So here I vary tasks and resources so that every student can learn at his or her appropriate pace. When someone enters your classroom, describe the learning activities in which the students are engaged. Yes, my classroom reflects active participation, collaboration, and purposeful learning. What do I mean by this? I mean that when you get to my classroom, you see that students get actively engaged in the learning process rather than sitting passively. So, depending on the lesson, you see students either working in groups or discussing a concept or even interacting with a visual. So, in a nutshell, you see that the classroom is always lovely but has an organized atmosphere. What methods do you use to evaluate your students' progress? Well, I use both formative and summative methods to evaluate students' progress. During my lesson, I check students' understanding using questioning or sometimes quick quizzing or even observing students during activities. For summative, I use tests and sometimes projects or assignments to check mastery of the learning objectives. I also give regular feedback to students to know how to improve upon their work. If you use technology in your teaching, describe how you incorporate it into your teaching. Again, describe any experiences you have with a smartboard. Yes, as a science teacher, you cannot deal away with technology. For that matter, I use technology a lot in my lesson delivery. One of the technologies that I use is the projector. Sometimes you need to project certain videos to students for quicker understanding, and sometimes pictures and other simulations need to be displayed for students to get. So I use the projector a lot in my classroom or my lesson delivery. I also sometimes use the microphones when I have a large class to deal with, so that students can easily interact with me and they can also hear me when I am delivering a lesson. For smart boards, I've never used some before, but I wish to use some one day because I know it's user friendly and you can interact with it, and you can even use to annotate notes or to display diagrams or videos. In Ghana here, we use the marker board, where I've even designed one for my school. But I know one time I'll get to use the smart board. Thank you. If you have students who are noisy or non-attentive, share ways you regain their attention without interrupting the lesson. When students become noisy or distracted, I use the non-verbal strategy to regain their attention without stopping the lesson. In some cases, I move close to the off-task students, make some brief eye contact, and sometimes I adjust my tone and pace to draw them back to the lesson. I sometimes even pause mid-sentence and watch the class calmly. Upon seeing that, you see them calming down, and then the class continues. I even sometimes raise my hand or even point to the board, or sometimes I use some visuals to catch the eyes of students. These strategies allows me to maintain control whilst running the lesson smoothly. Describe the most difficult problem you have had to deal with as a teacher, and how did you resolve this problem? One of the most difficult problem I have faced as a teacher was managing a student who consistently disrupted class and struggles to stay focused. This didn't affect only his learning, but also the engagement of the class as a whole. So to resolve this, I took a step-by-step approach. First, I tried to observe patterns. That is, when do this behavior happen most? What triggers it? And what was the task that was very hard for the student? Secondly, I had a private conversation with the student to understand his feelings. I realized he was overwhelmed with certain tasks, so I differentiated the learning activities by breaking it into smaller parts using visuals. I therefore gave him rules to keep him active during lessons. I also collaborated with the parents and the school counselor to create a consistent support plan for the student, both at home and in the school. So I also reinforce the positive behavior with some phrases and rules, and he enjoyed it. So with time, his destructive behavior decreased. Thank you. Give an example to show that you are a flexible person and that you can make changes to your teaching and methods. Okay, I remember one time during my lesson on electricity, I planned that students will be able to build simple circuits. So upon realization that some of the batteries and wires were not working, I quickly changed my plan by putting students in groups. So to share working materials. So I demonstrated one complete circuit to students and guided them in groups to repeat same in an open and closed circuit. This shows my flexibility because I was able to adapt immediately whilst meeting my objectives.